And now it's time for Ag on 8. Now, last week we told you about some FFA winners in our area, but this week we'll hear from them. Well, first up, Cale Delfelt from West Liberty is this year's National Poultry Production Proficiency winner. And get this, he went up against at least 500 other people nationwide. Well, I sat down with him and talked to him about his project where he spent 5 years helping raise turkeys on his family's farm.
Well, Kale, you are now a really big winner, and I know your project is centered around your family's poultry operation. I mean, what what do you do day to day? How do you become a national winner in poultry proficiency?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. I've worked very hard over the last 5 years with my project. I put a lot of time into it, a lot of effort, a lot of hours, and I do quite a bit out at the farm. I do a little bit of everything from helping raise the poults to helping load out the big birds. I help with everything really from cleaning barns, disinfecting barns. I help with feeding the turkeys. I do it all out there.
And how many turkeys does your family have?
Annually, we raise 62,500 birds.
Wow. Is this something that you've always been interested in, or just something over the last 5 years you really grew a passion for?
I've always been interested in doing it. I kind of wanted to take it on as part of my SAE since I always worked out at my family's farm to begin with. And so I figured why not make a SAE project out of it and kind of expand and learn more in that area.
So you said it sounds like you've been in the barns, in and out most days, really busy. But for people that don't know a lot about your projects with FFA, I mean, that's only part of it. Tell me about the other behind the scene things that you've had to do to be this winner.
Yeah, so when I started my project, I started it and I started taking it seriously in eighth grade when my advisor contacted me about starting it. And since eighth grade, I've had to keep track of all of my records while working out there, mainly focusing with all of my financial records and hours that I put in while working there. And so that's kind of the main stuff behind the scenes of what I've had to do. And then as far as filling out the application, I had to fill out a few pages worth of information on what goes on there, what I help with, some of our biggest challenges and strengths out there.
This is a big family project, it sounds like. I mean, your family is also contributing to this. This isn't just you solely taking care of these birds, is it?
No, it's not. So, my supervisor, who is my father, and then my uncle is also sort of my supervisor. They run the farm together. They own it, BKBE Farms. And then me and my brother both work out there, as well as I have a couple cousins that help out there as well.
And speaking of your brother, he was also a finalist for an award too. Tell me a little bit about him. That sounds like a pretty cool experience. You both were up for these national awards.
Yep. So actually, me and my brother, we both worked at BKBE Farms as well as West Liberty Golf and Country Club as greenskeeper assistants or assistant greenskeepers. And so he decided to focus his proficiency on the greenskeeping and turf management side, whereas I decided to focus mine towards the poultry side of things. Well, we both worked similar hours at both of these fields. It just kind of happened where I focused more towards poultry with the SAE and he focused more towards turf management.
Wonderful. Sounds like you're both incredibly busy. Got a lot of talents there. Did you ever think that your work was going to get you a national spotlight? There's a lot of kids that worked hard too and competed in this for this award.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely didn't think that it would take me this far. When my advisor first talked to me about it back in eighth grade, I didn't even know or I didn't have a clue what it was. I was just kind of going along with what he said about tracking my hours and my money and focusing on what I'm doing and how I can progress throughout the years. And I kind of just realized how big of a deal it was and kind of started to take it serious on actually figuring out what it was and how I've really improved my senior year.
And now that you're a national winner, I mean, how is this going to impact your future and even just the skills that you've learned through this project?
It's definitely going to impact it in several ways, I think. It's been a great experience so far. I've learned a lot of new information. I've gained a lot of different skills from various different things that I've done. I've had to do quite a bit of interviewing from this process. So I feel like I've gained very good interview skills. I've gained a lot of confidence and other things like that.
Well, Kayla, it was great to talk with you today, and I wish you the best of luck in the future. Congratulations on your big award here.
Well, we also had some other big winners here in the area. Cambridge Middle School took home the National Middle School Model of Excellence Award. Well, Corbin Strand, Landry Medley, and Ruby Beam are 3 of 65 7th and 8th grade students in the group. Now, they tell me what it was like standing on the national stage as winners.
Well, guys, thank you for joining us today. Ruby, most people know FFA as a high school activity, but you guys are all in middle school. You're all in 8th grade. What does it mean to be able to participate, not just participate in this program, but now just win a national award?
Me personally, I'm super grateful and honored that we were chosen to represent our school, not only the middle school chapter, but we were representing for what's soon to be our high school chapter, as we're just 8th graders. So I'm super grateful that we were chosen, and it means the world to me.
Landry, I was going to ask, what does it take to get this award? I mean, there are tons of schools that were also hoping to be this big winner at the national level.
It takes a lot of practicing and a lot of behind the scenes work. And I really have to thank my administrators, Haley Gruber and Mr. Tabor. And they truly helped us in making this possible. And the biggest part in this national was preparing for that big speech that really was only 15 minutes, but it took 2 months of my time to just prepare for that 15-minute speech.
So was it just you that had this speech, or who else got to speak in this?
It was me, Ruby, and Corbin all got to present the speech.
And what was part of that speech? What did you present on?
We presented on all of our projects that we did throughout the year and all of the events that we made with our community. And then we also had a slideshow to help show everything that we did and just to elaborate on it.
2 months sounds like a lot of time to plan a speech, but Corbin, it sounds like you guys have had activities going on throughout the whole year. What are some of those activities that you got to present on?
Some of the activities that we presented on were our CDE rally and also our Christmas on the Square activities, where we got to help us build our knowledge of the FFA and the agriculture experience activities and the CDE rally. And we got to help build our community with the knowledge of our FFA at Christmas on the Square.
Was that your favorite activity that you got to do this year, or what was the top highlight from your year in FFA?
I think that my top highlight for the year was the CDE rally because I got to compete in it and I really learned a lot from it.
Well, as I said earlier, a lot of people do associate FFA with high school. But Ruby, tell me again, I mean, what does it mean to be able to get your foot in the door, compete in this national competition all before you're even in high school and get to be kind of on that big stage that so many people think of?
Yeah, as I said, it's incredible, and as I said, I was very grateful we got this opportunity, and we've all three worked so hard, not just us three, but our 65 dedicated 7th and 8th grade members have worked so hard, making the best of our community and strengthening agriculture and building our communities.
Ruby, what are you most looking forward to next year as a freshman in high school, being an FFA there?
I'm most looking forward to being 100% involved and getting to have the middle school members and the middle school leadership team to look up to us, because me personally, I look up to several role models. For example, Anna Dubit, she's very successful in everything she does, and I really look up to her.
And both of you, could you tell me how is this impacting your future, being able to participate as a middle school student and then learn more in high school?
This is really helping us get connections in agriculture if we want to continue through an agricultural career and later in our life.
Yes, what Corbin said, it helped us show what FFA is truly about. And it shows that national convention with all the blue corduroy that was there. And it was really cool. And it was even more cool that we still have 5 more years of FFA to come.
Feeling good? Okay. Well, thank you all for joining us. Congratulations once again. And I can't wait to hopefully talk with you in the upcoming years about all your success as high school FFA students as well.
Well, union members were rallying last week, demanding that the Burlington CNH plant stays open. The company finalized a decision citing a drop in demand for the equipment that the factory makes. It's set to close in the second quarter of 2026, and it's costing about 200 production workers their jobs. About 60 engineering workers would stay for research and development. Well, Maddie Franz shows us why more workers are fighting to stay and how they plan to do it.
Every battle starts with a shot.
So by now we've all heard the news, right?
This shot came Tuesday.
They took that 50% and moved it overseas already.
CNH is shutting down its Burlington plant in 2026.
It means everything. Like this is,
Kim Albert has put 13 years into the plant.
it's going to tear this town apart if this place closes. It will be devastating to this community.
We have 3 kids altogether, yes.
Kaylin Darby's husband, Marcus, is with the union.
I don't think people realize how big of an impact it's going to have on us.
Without the plant, they'd have to move.
That's taking our kids away from everything that they know, everything that we know.
CNH says the Burlington facility is the lowest utilized and the most expensive to maintain. That's because it says demand for loader backhoes has decreased by half since 2014. The company is negotiating separation packages with the UAW, including severance, health insurance, job training, and replacement assistance.
This is not a funeral, y'all. This is a fight.
But the UAW calls the decision corporate greed.
It's the front lines of the biggest war we face as a working class.
President Shawn Fain among them.
For less than 1 percentage point of their profits, they want to drop an economic bomb on the Burlington community.
Powerful ally with the ear of the White House.
Because there should be tariffs here. That'll keep these jobs here, and that's what's wrong.
He says that's the winning strategy.
Keep fighting. Help us to keep fighting to keep this place open.
In Burlington, Maddie Franz, WQAD News 8.
Well, Fain says that members of the Burlington local will go to Washington, D.C. this week. There they'll advocate for tariffs on foreign-made construction and farm equipment and intervention into the plant closure. Well, it had a good run, but after 208 years, the Farmers Almanac just put out its final publication. It's a publication for farmers, gardeners, and others that they've relied on for planting, guidance, and weather predictions. But the publisher says it's because of financial challenges that they're ending it. But we do have to be clear on something. Its competitor, the Old Farmers Almanac, is still going on, and that's probably the one that you're more familiar with. That one's been around for about a quarter century longer. Well, as farmers wrap up harvest in our area, it doesn't mean that their work is done yet. Now they'll prepare for next year. Whether that's washing equipment or tilling the soil, one input cost, applying fertilizer, is a major expense on many farmers' bottom line. And it's why I caught up with Veronica Nye. She's the chief economist with the Fertilizer Institute in Washington, D.C. Now, she joins us to talk about why these prices are so high right now and what the policymakers are planning to do about it. Veronica, thanks for joining us. We're glad to see you here. I know that farmers are telling me that these prices are hitting them hard right now, from potash to nitrogen to phosphate. It's kind of all over the board. What's going on globally to cause some of these products to be imported at a higher cost?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on today, Haley. And yeah, we're certainly sympathetic to the fact that that growers are experiencing multiple years of poor commodity prices, and that experiencing high input prices at this time is certainly not a fun time or a good experience to have. But as you said, we import about 35% of our total fertilizer need. And depending on those different nutrients, that import share can be significantly higher. And so when we think about all of the geopolitical challenges and frankly, some of the things that we've seen in the U.S. policy spectrum, it's really hitting some of those nutrients very hard. So on the nitrogen side, particularly as it relates to urea and UAN, some of the geopolitical challenges that we've seen, particularly in Iraq and Iran and Israel, and the conflicts that this summer really have increased nitrogen prices. And because it is a global market, we feel that all across the nitrogen space. And on phosphates, we import about 60% of all of our phosphate needs. And so unfortunately, we've seen a huge drop off in our imports since the tariffs that were applied earlier this year, around April, were put into place. We've seen a drop off of about 40% of our phosphate imports. And so when we look at declining production in the US that we've been experiencing for several years, and then we also look at declining imports, that's a really challenging supply situation for US growers.
And we mentioned earlier that you're in Washington, D.C. I know recently there was a hearing on Capitol Hill about input cost, and that the DOJ and the USDA also have an investigation into some of these prices. When can growers potentially expect results from these conversations?
Well, as you mentioned, we've certainly seen a lot of interest, and for good reason, about all of the input elements that go into growers producing a crop. And that hearing was focused on fertilizer and seed, which are two components of the inputs that growers rely on. And that was part of the discussion around inputs. And USDA and DOJ's agreement is one of investigation to look at bringing additional points of inquiry to surface more information. And that's something that TFI has been asking to happen for several years. We've been asking USDA to, and that's something that TFI has been asking to happen for several years. We've been asking USDA to add a full-time economist that focuses just on the fertilizer markets for several years, because frankly, USDA doesn't have someone whose sole job is to focus on fertilizer markets. And it's a complicated total supply picture. You have a lot of different global players that are contributing to market volatility, and growers deserve for somebody at USDA for that to be their full-time job, so that they can really talk about those market dynamics and convey that to growers. So we've been asking for additional transparency and market discussion from USDA for quite a long time. So we're very supportive of that. So it's an ongoing discussion between USDA and DOJ. It's not an investigation per se, but more an agreement to continue to talk about and surface additional points of inquiry around inputs, so that growers get more information and there's more transparency within the input markets. And we can really think about long-term what additional information sources can really be surfaced in the input industry.
And you mentioned earlier a decrease in U.S. production of fertilizers. Why has that been a theme over the last few years? And is there anything being done to increase production internally?
Well, I think I should probably clarify there. So there's three major macronutrients. All growers will nod their head there. So on the nitrogen side, U.S. production is actually quite steady. We've had back in the 90s, we had a fairly significant decline in nitrogen production. But when we had the natural gas revolution in the U.S., we brought back nitrogen production in the U.S. And as a result, nitrogen production in the U.S. has been very steady. And in fact, last year it increased. It's on those mined nutrients that we've had some challenges. So that's really a challenge of whether or not we've been blessed with those nutrients or not. So phosphate and potash are mined minerals. And so on phosphate, our mining companies they're mining the same amount of production. They're still out, they're operating the same facilities, and they've got them open and mining at the same level of operation as they had, but they're really running into some constraints about the quality of rock that they're running into. On potash, as I mentioned before, our potash reserves are much lower down in the earth, so it's a bit of a challenge for us to really bring those products up. But we're very excited. Actually, yesterday we got word that both phosphate and potash were put on the final critical minerals list by the Department of Interior, and we're really excited that will have really highlight the ability for those minerals to perhaps increase domestic supply of those minerals and allow us to really boost domestic supplies, to allow us to see some additional permitting reform, so that we can start doing the things that our mining companies know that they want to do, but they've really been limited by some of the regulatory tape that has been holding them back from increasing production over the last many years.
Veronica, thanks for joining us this morning. We appreciate all your insight into this important topic.